The Thomas family didn't lose their empire in one moment. It started breaking the day they believed they were untouchable. What looked like power from the outside was already falling apart from within. And in Season 5 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, we finally begin to see the truth. This empire was never as strong as it seemed. At the start, the Thomas family stands tall, or at least that's what they want everyone to believe. Rock still carries herself like the queen of the streets, making moves, giving orders, and keeping control over every corner of her business. But something feels different now. The confidence is still there, but the certainty is gone. Every decision she makes feels heavier, like she knows one wrong step could bring everything crashing down. The people around her can sense it too, even if they don't say it out loud. Kanan, once just a kid learning the game, is no longer following the same path Rock set for him. He watches more, speaks less, and questions everything. The trust he once had in his mother is fading, replaced by doubt and quiet anger. He starts to see the truth behind her choices, and it changes how he looks at everything. This shift is dangerous because the empire was built on control, and Kanan is slowly stepping out of it. Marvin tries to keep things running, but his unpredictable nature makes everything unstable. He wants to prove he can be reliable, but his past mistakes still follow him. People don't fully trust him, and that lack of trust creates small cracks in the system. Lulu, on the other hand, is drifting away completely. His focus is no longer on the streets. His mind is somewhere else, and that distance weakens the foundation of the family even more. From the outside, it still looks like a strong operation. Money is flowing, deals are happening, and the name still holds weight. But inside, everything is starting to shift. The unity that once made them powerful is slowly disappearing. Each member of the family is moving in a different direction, and no one is really in sync anymore. This is where the real collapse begins. Not with gunshots or arrests, but with silence, doubt, and distance between the people who once trusted each other the most. Rack's biggest strength was always her ability to stay in control, but now that control is slipping through her fingers, piece by piece. She still makes strong moves, but they no longer come from a place of confidence. They come from pressure. She reacts instead of plans, and that change is something the streets quickly notice. When a leader starts reacting instead of leading, it creates an opening. And in this world, openings don't stay empty for long. Her relationship with Kanan becomes colder. There's no open fight, no loud arguments, just a growing distance that feels even worse. Kanan starts making decisions on his own, and Rock can feel it. She knows she's losing influence over him, but she doesn't know how to stop it. Every attempt to pull him back only pushes him further away. The more she tries to control him, the more he resists. It's a silent battle, but it carries more danger than any street war. Lulu is almost completely disconnected now. The business doesn't excite him anymore. The violence, the pressure, the constant fear, it's all become too much. He wants something different, something clean, something that doesn't involve looking over his shoulder every second. But walking away isn't easy. The deeper you are in this life, the harder it is to leave. And Lulu feels trapped between who he is and who he wants to be. Marvin, meanwhile, tries to step up, but his past keeps getting in the way. He wants respect, but respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn, and Marvin hasn't fully earned it yet. His actions are unpredictable, and that makes people nervous. In a business where trust is everything, being unpredictable is one of the biggest weaknesses you can have. All these small changes begin to add up. The family is no longer moving as one unit. There's hesitation in decisions, confusion in communication, and tension in every interaction. The empire that once ran smoothly is now struggling to keep its balance. And the worst part is, no one is really fixing it. Everyone sees the problem, but no one knows how to solve it. That's what makes the situation so dangerous. It's not just breaking, it's breaking without control. As the cracks inside the Thomas family grow deeper, the outside world begins to notice. Rival players start paying closer attention. They see the hesitation, the lack of unity, and they understand exactly what it means. Weakness in this world is like an invitation, and the Thomas family is unknowingly sending that invitation to everyone watching. Small problems start turning into bigger ones. Deals don't go as planned. People start questioning orders. There's a lack of fear where there used to be complete respect. That shift is dangerous because once fear disappears, control follows right behind it. The name that once carried power now carries doubt, and that change spreads quickly through the streets. Kanan continues to grow into his own role, but that growth comes with a darker edge. He's no longer just reacting to situations, he's creating them. His decisions are colder, more calculated, and sometimes even more ruthless than Rack's. This is where things take a serious turn, because now the threat isn't just outside the family, it's inside it. Rack begins to realize that the biggest danger to her empire might not be her enemies, but her own son. That realization hits hard, but by the time she sees it clearly, it may already be too late. The bond between them is almost gone, replaced by suspicion and silent conflict. They are no longer on the same side, even if they haven't said it out loud. At the same time, pressure from law enforcement starts building. The more unstable the empire becomes, the easier it is for outsiders to find their way in. Mistakes that would have been avoided before are now happening more often. Sloppy decisions, rushed actions, and emotional choices create openings that didn't exist before. Everything starts moving faster now. The problems are no longer small or hidden. They're visible, growing, and impossible to ignore. The empire isn't just weakening, it's being pulled apart from every direction. And the people holding it together are no longer strong enough to stop it. There always comes a moment when everything changes. And for the Thomas family, that moment doesn't arrive with a warning. It comes suddenly, built from every mistake, every broken bond, and every wrong decision made along the way. One choice, just one, pushes everything past the point of no return. That decision doesn't just damage the business, it destroys what little trust was left in the family. Lines are crossed that can't be uncrossed. Loyalty is replaced with survival, and survival means thinking about yourself first. That's the exact moment the empire truly collapses. Not when the money stops, but when the family stops being a family. Rock finds herself more alone than ever before. The power she fought so hard to build is still there on the surface, but underneath, it's empty. There's no real loyalty left, no strong support system, no one she can fully trust. Being at the top now feels more like a curse than a victory. Kanan, on the other hand, fully steps into his darker side. The last pieces of his innocence disappear, replaced by a mindset shaped by betrayal and hard lessons. He no longer looks for guidance. He no longer waits for approval. He moves on his own, and that independence comes with a dangerous edge that will define who he becomes. Marvin and Lulu both face their own consequences. Marvin's struggle with control finally catches up to him, while Lulu's attempt to escape the life proves that leaving isn't as simple as walking away. Each of them loses something important, whether it's power, peace, or purpose. In the end, the Thomas Empire doesn't fall in one dramatic explosion. It falls slowly, painfully, and completely. Piece by piece, everything they built disappears. And what's left behind isn't just a broken business, it's a broken family. That's the real tragedy. Not the loss of power, but the loss of what once held them together. The control Rock once held over everything is no longer steady, and this time the shift feels deeper than before. It's not loud or obvious, but it's there in every decision she makes. Earlier, she used to move like someone who already knew the outcome. Now, every move feels like a reaction to pressure building around her. That quiet confidence is slowly being replaced by urgency, and in a world like hers, urgency often leads to mistakes. Her biggest challenge is no longer the streets, it's the people closest to her. Kanan is no longer standing beside her in the same way. He listens, but he doesn't fully accept. He follows, but only when it suits him. There's a growing gap between what Rack wants and what Kanan believes, and that gap keeps getting wider. The more she tries to guide him, the more he pulls away. He has started to see her not just as a mother, but as someone who hides the truth. And that changes everything between them. This shift creates a strange tension in the air. Conversations feel shorter, colder, and filled with things left unsaid. There's no direct conflict, but the silence itself becomes heavy. Rack knows she's losing him, but she refuses to admit it fully. Instead of adjusting, she holds on tighter. thinking control will fix the problem. But control is exactly what's pushing him away. At the same time, Lulu is drifting further from the life that once defined him. His heart is no longer in the business, and it shows in everything he does. He moves slower, thinks differently, and avoids situations that once felt normal to him. The violence and pressure are no longer things he can ignore. He wants something better, something cleaner, but the life he's in doesn't offer easy exits. That inner conflict makes him unreliable, not because he's weak, but because he's no longer fully committed. Marvin, on the other hand, is trying to prove that he can be trusted, but effort alone isn't enough. His past decisions still hang over him, shaping how others see him. He steps in where he can, takes on responsibility, and tries to hold things together, but there's always doubt around him. People watch him closely, waiting for him to slip again. That pressure makes him tense, and sometimes that tension leads him right back into the same patterns he's trying to escape. As these personal struggles grow, the structure of the empire begins to feel unstable. Communication is no longer smooth. Plans don't come together the way they used to. There's hesitation where there should be confidence. Each member of the family is dealing with their own problems, and no one is fully focused on the bigger picture anymore. What makes this situation even more dangerous is that Rack still believes she can hold everything together on her own. She tries to manage every detail, fix every issue, and control every outcome. But the cracks are too many now. The more she spreads herself across everything, the less effective she becomes in each area. Control starts slipping, not because she's weak, but because the system around her is no longer strong. The empire begins to feel like it's running on habit rather than strength. Things continue to move, but without the same solid foundation. And when a system runs on habit alone, it doesn't take much to break it. One wrong move, one unexpected problem, and everything can start falling apart faster than anyone can react. This is the stage where the fall becomes unavoidable. Not because of one big mistake, but because of many small ones stacking up over time. Each weak connection, each moment of doubt, each broken piece of trust adds pressure to a structure that can no longer carry its own weight. And the most dangerous part is that the family doesn't fully realize how close they are to losing everything. The moment weakness becomes visible, the world around the Thomas family begins to shift in a way that can't be reversed. What was once hidden inside their circle now starts showing on the outside, and the streets are always watching. People who once stayed quiet begin to pay attention. Rivals who kept their distance now start testing limits. It's not direct war at first, it's small moves, quiet challenges, and subtle signs that the fear surrounding the Thomas name is fading. Business deals begin to feel different. Where there was once respect, there is now hesitation. Partners start asking more questions, taking longer to agree, and sometimes even pushing back. These may seem like small changes, but in this world, respect is everything. The moment people feel they can question you, they also feel they can challenge you. And once that mindset spreads, control starts slipping faster than anyone expects. Kanan is right at the center of this shift, but not in the way Rock would want. He is no longer just reacting to situations. He's creating his own path, and that path doesn't always align with the family's interests. His thinking has changed. He doesn't see the game the way he used to. Where he once looked for approval, he now looks for opportunity. And sometimes, those opportunities come at the cost of loyalty. There's a growing coldness in how he handles things. His decisions are sharper, more calculated, and less emotional. That might make him stronger in one way, but it also makes him more dangerous. He is no longer tied down by the same rules that once guided him. This creates a silent conflict within the family, because now Rock is not just dealing with outside threats. She's dealing with someone inside her own circle who is evolving beyond her control. Rock starts to notice this change more clearly, and it unsettles her. For the first time, she can't fully predict what Kanan will do. That uncertainty is something she's never been comfortable with. She built her empire on knowing every move before it happens, but now there's a piece on the board she can't read anymore, and that piece is her own son. At the same time, pressure from outside forces continues to grow. Law enforcement begins to close in slowly but steadily. They don't rush. They observe, wait, and gather what they need. The instability within the family makes their job easier. Mistakes that would have been avoided before are now happening more often. Loose ends are not being tied up properly. Information slips through cracks that didn't exist before. The streets also begin to test the boundaries more openly. Smaller players try to take advantage of the situation, pushing into spaces that were once protected. These aren't major attacks, but they don't need to be. Each small challenge chips away at the Empire's image. And image is power. Once that image weakens, everything built on top of it starts to shake. Marvin tries to hold his ground, stepping in where he can, but the problems are bigger than individual effort. Lulu remains distant, and his lack of involvement leaves a gap that no one else fully fills. The family is no longer operating as a single unit, and that lack of unity is now visible to everyone watching from the outside. Everything begins to move faster at this stage. Problems that once took time to grow now appear almost instantly. One issue leads to another, and before anyone can fix the first, the second is already causing damage. The pressure builds from all sides, inside, outside, and even within each individual. This is where the Empire starts losing its balance completely. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a series of fast, uncontrolled shifts. The structure that once held everything together can no longer support the weight placed on it. And as each piece begins to fall out of place, it becomes clear that the collapse is no longer a possibility. It's already in motion.